Today's show is sponsored by GameFly.com. 30-day free trial. Go to GameFlyOffer.com/HWT. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Hey, We're Talking. We need to figure out how to say Hey, We're Talking exactly the right way. Like, I like how you said it when we first came up with the name, Derek. You were just kind of like, Hey, we're talking. I need to say it more like that instead of the Hey, we're like that Ron radio voice. What do you think? How would you say it?
Well, I think you do the radio voice just so wonderfully well.
It's for jokes. It's for giggles.
But I thought the way I did was like, hey, we're talking. Hey.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, we're talking. You know,
Yeah.
like an angry New Yorker. You know, hey, we're talking here.
Hey, forget about it.
I'm sure they hate that. Like,
They do.
We really don't do that.
But wait a minute. Listen, let's be real. There are some people in New York that talk that way. Let's not play around and act like that's not true.
I've been traveling quite a bit, so I've been listening to Sirius XM in my car, some of the sports channels, and there's this commercial for it's like a snoring, it's like a device you put in your mouth to help you keep from snoring. It's called a Zipa.
Yeah.
And the commercial is just this obnoxious sounding. It's like, hey, Jimmy here. You know, you really are disrespectful when you're snoring. You're keeping your wife up. You're not very sexy. So what you gotta do is you gotta get a Zipa. And I'm serious. That is exactly how he sounds. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Zipa, if you want to sponsor, Hey, We're Talking. Just kidding.
I think they've sponsored the crap out of Sirius XM enough. But it's like, it was hilarious because they came out with the female version of it.
Oh my gosh!
And it's the same guys, like, ladies, and it's like the most misogynistic stuff. It's like, ladies, you're going out there, you're trying to be sexy, buying your lingerie. It's not working because you're snoring all the time. So get a Zipa. It's pink. It's designed by women for women. Let me tell you.
Designed by women for women?
Oh, my God.
What does it have, like a leopard print on it?
Yeah. It's bedazzled with zebra print.
This sounds like now I don't want to hear the commercial because I want to just believe that it's exactly like you said.
I wish that I was exaggerating, but
no, I think you're probably right on because I know what you're talking about. Listen, especially when you're doing like those national like satellite radio or those when people are syndicated, a lot of times they'll have these like commercials and you're just like, did someone actually pay somebody to make this? Like that guy doing that, someone in a room went, hey, I got an idea for a commercial. We get a guy who has like that really super annoying Brooklyn accent or whatever, you know, like really New York. And he basically just yells at the people until they buy the Zipa. What do you think? And they're like, you know, the Zipa people sitting at a table. You know what? I really like that idea. Sounds fantastic.
I really think so because I've been listening to the radio for a few years now, and I keep hearing that commercial. I'm like, what is going on, Jimmy? I'm not gonna buy your Zipa. I'm just gonna lose a little weight and try to just not snore as much. Use a little nose spray.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how much are these? They must be investing millions and millions of dollars in this advertising because it's like every other commercial. Get a Zipa. And I went to the website, and it's like
it compelled you to go to the website.
It did, but they're like, it's like a seatbelt for your tongue. Is what it said.
What?
In the website. It's like a thing you put in your mouth to keep your tongue from like falling back into the back of your throat.
So basically to stop you from choking on your own tongue and dying.
Yeah, it's like a I'm sure there's a million different products out there like that. Just some sort of mouth guard to keep you from snoring.
A lot of times they're just to keep your mouth kind of like your jaw ajar, which I don't know how that works or whatever. But I actually, full disclosure, I have sleep apnea, and so I've been using a CPAP, constant. What is it? Continuous pressure airway something.
Yeah, continuous positive airway pressure.
Yeah,
I do believe.
I've been using one of those since like the second year after Cheryl and I got married. I didn't know, but I had sleep apnea in high school. In high school, dude.
Wow.
Like I would fall asleep at the wheel and crash my car all the time because I would fall asleep all the time. Like not like those. What's that thing called where you just literally just fall asleep?
Oh, narcolepsy.
No, I didn't have narcolepsy, but I would be like. In school, my eyes would always just get heavy, and I would be like, "Oh gosh, I can't stay awake."
Well, yeah, because when you have sleep apnea, and apnea, by the way, if you don't know what that means, it means you stop breathing.
Yeah.
It's like an intermittent.
And mine is like hundreds of times a night, like hundreds and hundreds of times a night. You stop breathing.
Yeah, and I guess it stresses your heart.
Oh yeah.
It prevents you from getting like a really good night's sleep.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If CPAP Corporation of America wants to sponsor.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. So when Cheryl and I first got married, and we were finally like sleeping in the same room together, and she was like, she would sit there and I would just be like, all night I was doing that and snoring really loud. I mean, really loud. And so she was like, I'm really worried about you. I don't know what's happening, but I think you're going to die. And I'm like, I'm fine. And then I would go to my job or whatever, and the whole day I would just be like, and I'd be smacking myself in the face. And then we went to church. Okay, we went to this church. And of course, in church, you're just sitting there. So what do you think's going to happen if I'm just sitting there? I'm like falling asleep like crazy. So she was embarrassed that I was falling asleep in church. She would pinch me underneath, like she put one hand under and just pinch on me, and I would get really like really mad because I'm like coming out of kind of falling asleep, and so the pastor comes up to me after the service and he's like, "Hey, I noticed you were having a hard time staying awake during the service," and I was like all embarrassed. Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. Sorry. He said, I just watched this thing on 2020 last night about sleep apnea. You should go to your doctor and see if you have sleep apnea. So I went, got a sleep test done. They take you in. They put me without the machine for the first like 3 hours of the night. And, of course, I stopped breathing hundreds of times. They put the mask on for like 3 or 4 hours to adjust everything. I never felt so refreshed in my life. It was a game changer. I mean, my whole entire life changed. So if you feel really tired all the time and your wife says you snore in your sleep, or whoever is like, you stop breathing, please go get it. I mean, at first you're going to be like, I don't want that mask on my face, but trust me, it will change your life.
Yes. Get the silicone squid.
It's like, I call it my Darth Vader mask.
Yeah,
because it makes when it's blowing in and out. So there you go.
You know how some people they're like, I only smoke when I drink. I only snore when I drink.
I only snore when I sleep.
Or
well, now
snore.
I don't.
Well, I've also noticed that there is a correlation with, for me, the heavier body weight.
Right,
wise,
exactly.
The heavier, because you got a lot of that stuff around your neck and your throat.
Yep.
Kind of. It causes a little bit of airway obstruction. So I've noticed that as I've been skinnying down, I snore less.
Yep.
That's cool. And you know what? All you people who are denying that you snore, stop it. You have no leg to stand on. There's what? Who do you think you are? How dare you? When someone says, "Hey, you were snoring last night." Nuh-uh.
Yeah, I know. How do you know?
Why would that be the thing that you deny?
I know. Like, what is the big deal?
I don't snore. Yes, you do.
Yes.
I'm not going to just lie about this. I'm not just going to say, "Hey, you're snoring," just to make you feel bad.
No. It's
Brandy.
Not. Isn't that weird? Yeah. Isn't that weird that people get embarrassed that they would snore? It's like, you're sleeping. You don't know what you're doing. It's like people, listen, anybody who tells you, this is why I always find it hard to believe. I'm taking a big turn here, but just stick with me for a minute. Okay. I always find it hard to believe when someone says, I've never heard my wife fart, okay? Because people fart in their sleep, okay? It's a proven fact. It happens. If you happen to be awake for one of them, you can attest to the fact that it does happen when you're sleeping.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I understand that, Scott, but there's various sphincter tones and fart volumes, volumes, or
yes,
flatcholiums. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just making up words, but you may not just hear it. There's certain amounts of pressure that have to build up, and
right,
it vibrations. I mean, not everybody's gonna do the, or the,
right,
the,
So, okay. On that note, let's take a quick break so that we can release any kind of gas that we have, and we'll be right back after this. Hey, everybody, it's Scott from Hey, We're Talking. You've heard us talk about GameFly.com before. The basics are this. They've got over 8,000 titles for every gaming platform you can think of, and they're giving you a 30-day free trial. That's right, 30-day free trial for you, the listeners of Hey, We're Talking. You want to play video games? You want to be a champ at video games? Go to GameFlyOffer.com/HWT. That's GameFlyOffer.com/HWT for your 30-day free trial. And we are back, and we're not going to talk about toots anymore. We decided we're going to move on.
Totes. We're going to totes.
We're totes moving on from toots. Okay. So, as you may or may not know, Derek has been on a little bit of a vacation. I'd say a pretty good-sized vacation in Nashville. And while he was there, if you follow him on Instagram, you probably know this, but there was a lot of coffee consumed. And actually today, in one of the Voxer chats, Boontar was talking about the coffee that was consumed and all this kind of stuff. And I was sitting there thinking as he was talking about it, I was like, man, how did you drink that much coffee in one day? Were you ever like really wired, or do you not even get like that?
No, I did. There was one day when Tobacco Frank Duncan and I were we were going around. I was dropping off my brother to get a van. It was right before we went to it was Thursday before I went to see you.
Yeah.
Because they were going to do some rehearsal that evening before they left on Friday morning. So I went to drop off my brother so he could pick up this van and trailer that he was renting. And it happened to be in East Nashville. East Nashville is known for its abundance of coffee shops.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely.
Actually, all of Nashville is known for its coffee.
I did not know this. How did I not know this?
Well, I mean, there's a good coffee culture. Cities like Seattle,
think coffee, you
Portland,
think Northwest.
Yeah, like Seattle and Portland, but St. Louis, Denver, Dallas, Nashville, Chicago. They're all starting to Austin for sure.
Oh yeah.
New York City.
I can see that.
Sacramento, California. All these towns are starting to develop a very chic coffee culture. A very, very informed base.
There has to be one in LA, right? LA has to have a lot of coffee, don't you think?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I had a buddy who lived out there, and he would post pictures all the time of every coffee place that he went to. He lives in Connecticut now, but now he's like in the New York area. So he's got these coffee pictures all the time. They're amazing.
If you could live in any like big city, like one of the top 5, top 10 big cities in the U.S., where would you want to be?
Top 5 or top 10 cities in the U.S. Well, here's the thing. I like California as a state if it was completely empty and I got to just go there, but it had the things that I like. I like California, but I don't like some of the like taxes and different things because they're, it's very left leaning, which I would be able to survive, but there would be things that I wouldn't like The taxes would really bother me. Although everybody you talk to in California is like, I don't mind paying high taxes because I have really nice parks. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to the park very often, so I don't care about that. If they were like, hey, if you live in California and your taxes pay for, I don't know, like free internet all the time, free Netflix, free cable, maybe then I would be like, yeah, that's cool, man. I'm glad my taxes are paying for that stuff. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a big tax guy. Anyway, I like California, but I think I would probably end up, and I don't know if this is a top city, but since I'm closer to it, I think maybe like Atlanta would be a cool place to live. And I know that Atlanta has some really cool areas that are part of downtown Atlanta proper. I think that there's some really cool stuff there. They've got some really cool neighborhoods and lots of stuff like that. But I kind of like the South. I got to admit, I really do.
Yeah. I really enjoy Nashville. I could see myself living there, but not that I've been. I mean, I've seen a lot of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. So Manhattan seems like it'd be really neat. I'd like to check that out. But anyway, I don't know why we
no, it's a good. I would like to keep talking about it actually because I want to say something about New York. Okay. I think like if I were a super healthy person and money was no object, I think New York would be a fantastic place to live.
Absolutely.
If you just knew like you didn't have to own a car, you could just live in like some like loft apartment or something like that. And everywhere you went, there were just little mom and pop places, whatever neighborhood you decided to live in, you could just live your life there. And there's so many people.
Yeah.
It would
everything
be,
you need.
Yeah. It would be fun. It would be fun. I still would hate winter. I just don't like winter. I don't want to be in the snow. So that would be my major drawback. But there is a part of me that has always wanted to live in a big city, especially because like, I mean, in the city. Like even when we lived in Michigan, I was drawn to like I would love to live in downtown Detroit. But the thing is, Detroit is not. It's getting better. But when I lived there, Detroit was not like a place you wanted to live. It was pretty run down, a lot of bad stuff going on. But it's getting better. And I just saw an article the other day where like these old houses now, people are fixing them up and selling them for like near $1 million in downtown Detroit. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely like to live. I mean, I'd first I need a visit, but New York City, that seems to be the cool place. And my sister-in-law lived there. She did a lot of Broadway.
Wow.
She was, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that was another thing about getting to visit Nashville. Got to hang with my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
You know, I mean they here I am in Texas. We see each other on Facebook, and I've got to visit Nashville a couple of times, and you get a lot of those surface, somewhat super. You don't get.
It's like holiday family. It's not.
Yeah, you don't
like
get to
best friends.
Yeah, but we sat down and I got to have a lot of conversations. Got to know my brother's wife.
That's fun,
and it was awesome. And she's great. I mean, I knew she was great, but it's like confirmed. Big green check. Yes, she's great.
I can actually see you eventually moving to Nashville. I could.
I
think you would fit in really well there, dude.
I think so. I think it'd be fun, but I was so happy to get home.
Oh yeah, because it's home.
We got this nearly 2 acres. I mean, I was like, I was walking around outside at night, like walking to the mailbox, and I'm thinking, man, they'd probably fit like 4 of those buildings in that apartment complex just in my yard.
Yep.
Just stuff them. Yeah, I was not a big, huge fan of the traffic and the
urban
parking.
sprawl.
Yeah, it was pretty rough, but as far as people, Nashville's got great people. The restaurants are fun, and the coffee and brewing, breweries and a lot of good stuff going on there.
I think Nashville is kind of, to me, I've only been there a few times, but I would say I think I went like maybe the second year or third year Cheryl and I were married. We went just on a whim, and I thought it was great. I loved it. And that was like 22 years ago. And then I went when we had the One Pipe Meetup there, and it's becoming one of those cities that's, I think it's growing really fast, number one, and number two, just the entertainment industry there is exploding. I mean, it's becoming very, very big. It's becoming like another epicenter of the music industry, and not only that, but I think all sorts of entertainment is starting to bubble up there and become a big deal.
Yep. And just to get back to what I was saying about that Thursday before I came down to the Carolinas to visit you, I had taken my brother to East Nashville so that he could pick up a van and the trailer. Well, Frank, Tobacco Frank, he's like a real estate mogul all over the Nashville proper area, like in the surrounding areas. And he had let me know. He's like, "Hey man, I'm going to be in town that afternoon." So we met at a coffee shop called Dose.
Okay.
And we decided, just because we were in that East Nashville area, there was like several coffee shops, including one that is nationally known, very famous, called the Barista Parlor. And so we started off at this one coffee shop, and then we just took off and went to a couple others. We got some of our hipster donuts and all that good stuff. And then we wound up at the Barista Parlor. In the span of like 2 hours, we hit 4 coffee shops.
Oh my gosh.
And
what did you have at each one of these coffee shops?
I tried different stuff. I had like cold brew coffee at one of them. I tried to get like their nitro cold brew. And I'm pretty much convinced that that's a scam. There's nothing. It's not any. It's just
dumb.
I've had it here. It's fizzy for like a little bit.
Yeah.
But then Boontar was telling me, well, there's a certain way that there's 2 different ways to do it, and most people do it the wrong way. So I guess I haven't had like legit cold brew. If you want fizzy cold brew, just get like cold coffee concentrate and pour some carbonated, like some sparkling water into it. There you go. It'll be. I'm serious.
That's the Derek Nitro coffee method. Boom.
Yeah. Life hack. Pro tips. Yeah. Life hack. Yeah.
So you had a nitro cold brew, and what else?
Let's see. I did have like some cappuccino, just regular brewed coffee at some places. I had the Breve latte.
Oh.
Now the Breve, guys, if you want something that's just a decadent and the yummers, you get a Breve latte, which it's like a cappuccino, but instead of making it with whole milk, they make it with half and half. So
and that's better?
It's delicious. And you need to get the 6 ounce, guys. Get the small one, because that's a lot of calories there.
What does the half and half do that's so different than the whole milk? Explain it.
Well, half and half is like part cream and part milk that's mixed together. So it's more
hearty.
It's more fat. It's more fattening.
Okay.
And there's just more creaminess, more richness.
Good.
It's delicious.
So what is it called? Like I used to, when I was doing full keto all the time, what I would do is I would pull a double shot, and then I would use heavy whipping cream in it.
Yeah. Did you steam it or just add whipping cream to it?
I steamed it first.
Oh my goodness. That's whatever that is.
It was.
It was a
lot. It was a lot of heavy whipping cream, and I was like, looked at the calories one time, and I was like, wow, okay, I can't do that very often.
That's pretty much what a Breve is, but like I think you can do it with either full heavy whipping cream or half and half.
Okay.
I prefer it with half and half because I think sometimes the heavy whipping cream imparts maybe just a little bit too much of a funky taste. You risk turning it into butter or something like that. Yeah,
it's basically like one step away from bulletproof coffee. Yes.
Yeah, and it's good, but I've discovered the best way to do that. If you're making like a nice little cappuccino, which is basically 6 ounces, a shot of coffee, and maybe a half a cup of your liquid of choice. With half and half or whatever. That's what you go with, and you sip it. It's not meant to be. It's not meant to be like a tall.
No, don't bring your Yeti thermos with you for that.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on 1 second. I know this is good. We're stretching this out, but I got to take another quick break, and then we're going to come back and finish your Tobacco Frank story. We're going to span it over 2 segments because because I keep interrupting you and asking you questions. That's what a good interviewer does, though, Derek. I'm trying to find out the nitty gritty.
No problem, but I will get to the point because you were asking, like, you were trying to get to, you were asking, like, is there a limit? Can you drink so much caffeine? I will answer that question when we come back.
Today's show is brought to you by GameFly.com. Go to GameFlyOffer.com/HWT today. And we are back again. And this time I'm going to let Derek finish the actual story and the question. Okay. So we know now, just to bring you up to speed, that Derek had a nitro cold brew, and then a cafe breve. Is that correct?
A breve latte.
Latte.
I went to so many places.
Okay.
I might have had another cold brew, like a regular cold brew, and
right,
just regular coffee.
Okay.
But yeah, you were asking, like, can you just drink? Is there a limit? So what I was saying is that I was dropping off my brother to get that van because they were going on the road that weekend.
Yep.
And they needed to do rehearsal that night.
Mm-hmm.
And they were telling me about this place called SIR, which is like Studio Industry Rentals or something like that. It's where it's a place where bands can go to rehearse, and they got all kinds of equipment. It's a really cool place.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Hey, dude, we're going to rehearse tonight. So if you want to come out, then come on out and do it." So I was like, I looked up where it was, and SIR is just 1 mile from 8th and Roast, one of my favorite coffee shops in Nashville. So
you said that like I was supposed to be like, oh, 8th and Roast. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite coffee shops in Nashville. Okay. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going.
All right.
But I had promised that earlier in the day. So I drop off Brandon, and me and Frank hit up these 4 different coffee places, and we just load up on coffee and donuts, etc.
Yeah.
And by the time I was done with that and it was time to go to rehearsal, I get to SIR, and I'm wired to the max. I did not go to 8th and Roast that day.
Did you go at all?
I did.
Okay, good.
I did.
Since it's your favorite. See, for me, I used to just pound coffee all day, and I would feel horrible, but I would always think it was something else. So now I've really scaled back the amount of coffee that I drink in a day. And today, though, before we recorded, I was drinking iced coffees. I just have this cold brew stuff that I get from the store, and I was drinking it today. And I just wasn't paying attention, and I drank too much. And I'm telling you, I can always tell as soon as I've had too much. It's just like, it's just that feeling. You just don't feel right. So that's why I was wondering, since you guys were going to so many places, were you just at that spot where you were like, oh, my gosh?
Yeah, it increases the heart rate, all that stuff that caffeine does. Yep. I think what it does is it makes you feel like you are under stress.
Yes.
You have that, when stressful things happen and you kind of get that adrenaline release and you kind of feel stressed, you're uncomfortable. I think if you consume a little bit too much caffeine, it kind of mimics that.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
I was like, they were like, "Are you going to get coffee?" And I was like, "No, I went to 4 coffee shops. I don't think I need any." And they're like, Yeah, you don't need any more.
Yeah,
you don't need any more.
So, but you did like I think that was, I'm trying to remember if that was a YouTube video. There was a guy that you met at a coffee place.
Yeah. Since, I was putting out on my personal social medias that I wanted to go to Nashville and meet up with people so that we could have a pipe meetup, which we haven't really talked about.
I know.
But
we'll get to it in a second. But who's the guy that you met at that coffee place you put on YouTube?
Well, his name is Michael. He is he's just like you and I have been. He was a YouTube pipe presenter that
Okay.
lives in the Nashville area, and I guess he's followed me on YouTube and Instagram, and he reached out to me from Voxer saying, "Hey man, I want to go to the pipe meetup, but I also would like to meet up with you and have coffee with
Yeah.
you." And so I was like, "Okay, cool." So we did, and I took advantage of that meeting. He made a video with me in it. I made a video with him in it so that I could,
Cross promote.
cross promote.
There you go. And what's his tag name? That's what I was trying to get you to tell me.
Oh, Pipes and Circumstance.
There you go. I like
a lot like Pomp and Circumstance.
That's why I liked it, because I was like,
Yeah.
I actually like that name. That's pretty good.
Unfortunately, he didn't make the pipe meetup.
What?
Something came up. I don't know.
Aw, that's too bad.
He's got 2 young kids.
Yeah.
A baby and a toddler. A little couple little daughters. So it was
Just didn't work out. What day was the actual pipe meetup? Was that Sunday?
It was on Saturday.
Saturday.
But a lot of us did come together, like I said, on Friday. I had just dropped off Brandon at the airport so he could go to Las Vegas and play the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival, which I know you and Bob already talked about that.
Yeah.
My brother was there at the concert, but not on Sunday night.
Yeah, he came home. And that's the first thing when I found out that morning. I texted you and I was like, dude, is your brother okay?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
I know. I was like, I guess they don't even know yet.
Yeah, well, we had just woke up, but
Yep.
on Friday, I was able to get together briefly with Boontar, Frank, and Greg at the Barista Parlor, and then a bunch of people came in. We met up at Smokers Abbey in Nashville, and then the pipe meetup proper was on Saturday, the September 30th.
Okay.
And we met up at Uptowns. A lot of people came in from out of town, people from Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, North Carolina.
Dude, look
It was
at you.
yeah. We had
You set up a pretty successful little pipe meetup there, Mr. Tant.
Yeah, we had a couple of dozen folks.
That's good.
All together come in. It was a good time. And that's if you're a pipe smoker, which I know a lot of our listener base is, you definitely need to make it make a point to, at minimum, just meet up with a person and smoke with them.
Yeah.
Or join a local pipe club. But this would be, I guess, a kind of like a regional pipe meetup. But the big thing that you need to do is actually do a pipe show. So
No, they're boring. They are. I like hanging out with the people more than the shows.
well, yeah, I mean that's the fun part of the show is we didn't really this meetup we didn't really do anything.
No, you just get to hang out.
You just go to you smoke, you eat, you drink, you visit, you make jokes, and you cut up.
Yes.
And it's so much fun because you get all these like-minded individuals. I mean, we're all from all different walks of life, different religions, different races, different socioeconomic stations in life.
Yep.
But you can still come together as brothers and sisters of the leaf. Tobacco.
Of the leaf.
Brothers of the leaf. Tobacco leaf.
Yeah.
And it's a good time. It's
It
such
is.
a great time.
And I will say this. That's exactly one of the things that Bob and I talked about when we talked about all the stuff that happened in Vegas and just our country as a whole. One of the things that the question that I asked is, how do we make this stuff better? And I think you and I have talked about this before too, and it's relationships, man. We have such and I won't go over all the stuff I said again, but with social media and with the news and all the stuff out there, you get inundated with people that are angry. You get inundated with a lot of ideas and people's opinions. And there's nothing wrong with people having opinions, but I feel like we kind of lose some of our decorum when we're online compared to when you're face to face with a person. It's just totally different. And I think that was what we came away from it, is just like you're saying, all the pipe things that I've ever been to, when you're sitting down and talking with people, you generally have a lot in common with people. You don't run into a lot of people face to face that you just go, yeah, I don't want anything to do with that person. I mean, there are still people that happens with, but the great thing is you don't have to do anything with them. If you don't get along with somebody, it's okay. It's just nice to sit down with people, relax in a fun atmosphere, and just get to know people, because people overall are pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And even, there's people at these pipe meetups, they have differing opinions. We don't always fall on the same spectrum of opinions, but at least, it's, you come together and there's civility.
Yeah.
There's reasonable discussion.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree, you just move on to the next thing. You just agree to disagree, and it's not a problem.
Yeah. And I even said, I don't even think the three of us, meaning you, Bob, and I, we don't all agree on the same stuff either. I mean, even when you and I were hanging out talking, we didn't agree completely. I mean, but I think that the difference is we've got a relationship. There's something there that tells us, hey, even though I may not agree with this guy, we can still be friends. We can work through that. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to think the same way. That's the great thing about being an individual. You don't want to just be around people that agree with everything you say, do you?
Absolutes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Bringing toots back. I love it.
No, I disagree with that, Scott.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, so pipe meetups are a good thing.
They are.
Any kind of meetups are a good thing.
It's a way to fellowship. And I guess a final thought on like something like Vegas. And I know y'all probably touched on this.
Tell what you want to say, man.
I think that these tragedies should be used as an opportunity for unification and for breaking down barriers that exist between groups of people.
Yeah.
There are barriers that exist, misunderstandings, differences in race and differences in culture. We put up barriers sometimes, and these things are ingrained from generation to generation, and different beliefs and philosophies might cause us to put up barriers between people because of race or religion or sexual orientation or anything like that. And there's no place for that anymore.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. Anytime there is something like this that happens, the hurricanes that we've seen this year, and then you see something like this happen, and no matter what, it seems like when all the dust settles and you start to hear the stories of people that went in and helped people and all the things that went down. And then I was even just going to mention, people like your brother. He immediately said, some really good stuff on his Facebook posts, and then on top of that, he's got some really big shows coming up. One with Willie Nelson, by the way, everybody. Absolutely. Where he's going to donate proceeds, part of the proceeds from those concerts to helping people. I think there's one person in particular that he was going to help that was hurt in the shooting and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, and here's the deal. I mean, Brandon is, as we've talked about before, I mean, he's on his way. He's like starting to hit his stride in country music, and people are starting to see how talented he is, but it's not like he's a billionaire. So for him to say, hey, I'm going to donate this stuff, that's awesome, dude. And there's so many people in that country music community that have come together now, and they're just like, we're helping these people out. And that's what's awesome about this stuff. No matter how horrible it is, there are still people, and again, that gives you that hope for humanity. There's still people out there who are awesome, who love people. Even though we have our differences, there's people that care, and that's what makes America great.
All I can say is absolutes.
Absolutes. That's our new thing. I like it.
Do we want to shut this? We want to shut this mother down?
We are going to.
All right.
Right after this. Hey everybody, it's Scott from Hey We're Talking. You've heard us talk about GameFly.com before. The basics are this. They've got over 8,000 titles for every gaming platform you can think of, and they're giving you a 30-day free trial. That's right, 30-day free trial for you, the listeners of Hey We're Talking. You want to play video games? You want to be a champ at video games? Go to GameFlyOffer.com/HWT. That's GameFlyOffer.com/HWT for your 30-day free trial. Hey,